Welcome back to Invader Final Project for Computer Coding class. And we are nearing the end of our project. We are going to do a pretty fun one right now. We've created multiple enemies by making a list. And now we have 5 enemies in a row on the screen. We're going to throw that into a multiple rows, in other words, a table of enemies that has both an X and a Y dimension. If you take a look here, if this was, a single row at one point, and then I added more, just to show you with my mouse, this information right here, of course, is one row, right? Now I want to add more. So instead of calling this guy, 0, I really want to call him 0, 0. And this guy's 0 position 1, and this guy's 0 position 2. And then just to copy and paste that a second, this guy here is 1 position 0. And then of course this is 1 comma 1, and just to skip this one down here would be 0 1 2 0 1 2, so 2 comma 2. And so instead of referring to them as a list of 0 1 and 2, we now have 2 coordinates, so just like an xy plane. And we say this is the object at this point, this is the object at this point, this is the object at this point. We have a table of information. That's called a multi-dimensional array in some programming classes. I guess we would call it a multi-dimensional list or a list of lists in Python. So that is the goal in the code, except for the first part where we have to create that list and kind of set it up. Oh, sorry. I messed up and I started retyping again, or re-recording, because I realized that I did something wrong. So let me just go back to how this was. Well, no. Okay, so this is where your code should be. And when I run this, see, I knew I was doing something wrong. Okay, this should have been like this. So let's go back to there. Okay, fine. This is what I had, is all I was trying to say. Make sure I get to the right spot. All right. So we need to make a list of lists. Like right here, we have just a list. And we're going to add rows. So let's start with that. Jibber jabber, let's just do this thing. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to basically be doing a for loop inside a for loop. Right? We're going to say, okay, take all of our rows, and then inside of all of those rows, take all of our columns and do something. And our enemy's speed is still special because he's not changing for the different ones, so he gets to hang out on his own. I'm going to indent that, which is what I was trying to undo before. Now, there's one part that's a little bit strange. Just like we created empty lists right here, in order to get this to work, we kind of have to create an empty list inside that empty list. So we're going to take our enemy location, and we're going to append an empty list inside of it. In fact, you could even just like copy these and paste them and fix their formatting, of course. But instead of equaling, we're going to append. So before we do anything, we're going to end up with an empty list, and inside of that empty list, another empty list, except not just one empty list. We're going to do this for all of our rows. If I was to take what I've done so far right here, and I was to take it over into a new code sculptor, you can see I've already done it once, and press play, of course nothing will happen. But if I was to print enemy on, you'd see I have a list, and inside that list I'd have some empty lists, right? So we appended lists inside the list. It's a little strange. 3, 4. Oh no, okay, there's 5. It's just as hard to read, hard to see it. But yeah, 5 things because we did it 5 times, right? Back over to here. Unfortunately, then there's, well, not unfortunately, but the consequence of that is that there's one thing we have to do, is that when we now, excuse me, jump into our columns, we have to say, well, what row is it that we're going to append this new information on? So we're going to, last time we got used to putting bracket C for what column we're in. This time we're going to put bracket R for what row we're in. So we're going to do that. And again, if I want to show you, you don't have to do this. I just want to show you what's going on. And I put that piece in there, and I press play. And what you'll see is our enemy on is always, of course, true. But we have a list right here with 5 true values in it. And so this is kind of like the first row. Position 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4. And then here's the second row. And then as I go over, 3rd row, 4th row, 5th row. So we just created 25 values in that short amount of time right there. And that's great. That sets us up for everything that we need to do. The only thing that's a little bit different is here in our enemy location, we say draw it at position C, like 100 times C. We should do the same thing for our Y value. We want to draw these at certain points based on what row we're in. So that's going to change. So that's going to set up our values for where to put these things on the screen. We can tinker with this. We'll come back to it and kind of fine tune it, but this will set us up for a decent one. Just like we did with the first time we made these lists, we're going to go through every function and we're just going to check and see which functions need to be adjusted. Anytime you see this, that's an indication that we also have to add a row now. But all we have to do is say for R in rows, and then everything that we did is going to be indented again. And now here's the, if you press Control F or Command F and you say find the C's, so it does that. Everywhere you see one of those C's, you also want to put an R just right in front of it. Because we want to say, you know, the row in the column and then the rest of the information. So all you have to do is go through this, and that's why I say it's really not that hard, and especially for the payoff of getting 25 guys on the screen at once. It's like 25 pastes, so it seems like it's worth it. I may be being interrupted in a minute as I hear one of my children walking around the house late at night. So you'll have to pardon me if that happens. If that does happen, I'm sure that we can at this point handle it, because what we're doing is, right, this is now just, again, as one of my teacher friends says, plug and chug. once you see what you're doing, it's just a matter of going through these and adding it. This one's going to take a little bit of work, so we might as well do that now. Close up collisions. Okay, my enemy movement. Here we said, when our enemy gets to the edge of the screen and we want him to move down, this for loop ran through every single one so they'd all move down together. So we just have to add yet another for loop here. And I'm going to use height as my temporary thing, indent those, and do that. That's again just so it goes through when one hits the edge, every single one of them needs to move together, and so that's going to cause that to happen. Look at that beautiful number of indents we did on that one. That's just awesome. Move player, it's all set. Move missile, player shoot, all set. Enemy shooting. If you need help making sure you got all the code right, go ahead and pause it, take a look. Moving our missile. Our enemy's missile, I should say. Indenting and pasting. All set. And our draw. And here we have where we draw them all onto the screen. So we're just going to add it in here. The only thing we have to worry about in this technique is if we do too many of them, we could cause the computer to slow down. This is a lot of loops. When we had one enemy on the screen, we could do this one time with a two-dimensional array on the screen. We're basically doing it now 25 times in the speed that we used to do it one time. That is one of the main reasons that people who know coding would be screaming at me that this is a terrible way to do things. To them I say, nah, I'm doing it anyway because it works. And I'm going to come up with a better solution in another video, so don't worry your pretty little heads. Alright, I feel a little defensive, right? Now, everything else, we haven't added a new function in any of this. We're just going through and editing old functions. It couldn't be that easy, right? Like, that took us no time at all to paste in a whole bunch of things. But it is that easy. Oh my goodness. We have a reign of terror. I haven't even started shooting. I'm stunned into submission. Now, obviously, the way that they look there is an issue, right? Yay. Oh, and then the speed. Oh no, the speed. Oh dear. That was way too much fun. And hey, only -3 lives. Not bad, not bad. So that was truly epic, wasn't it? There's some things that we're going to have to do to make this, actually work. The first one is our enemies shooting, right? Yeah, the enemies shooting. That's getting a little ridiculous. Taking 1 out of 100. If there's 25 of them, then we're up to a 25% chance that they're shooting. I think I'll see what happens if I multiply that chance by 10, right? Or I'll divide that chance by 10. Play it again. Now there's still, a lot of them. Well, it's less, but boy, it's certainly not easy. What else is wrong with it? Well, I think obviously one thing that's wrong with it is that we have they're too far apart, right? Well, remember I told you we could fine tune that. Up here, we told them to be 100 pixels apart from each other. We also, because of the way we're doing this, the first row is 0, so we start at exactly the 0 point on the screen. So that doesn't seem to work either. So what if we did instead, what if we only did 25 pixels apart? But at the beginning, we added 50, so we're kind of adding an offset to that calculation. So it moves it 50 down, and then from there, 25 apart. Ooh, that's a tight little group of aliens, don't you think? Now so speed may be an issue as well. Yeah, just a little bit. I only died once that time, so I did better than the last time. In my collisions, when I was trying to make this game harder, I multiplied by 1.3. You can see that quickly is getting a little ridiculous, so 1.1 should be plenty. You could even do 1.05 if you think it's getting too fast at the end. And even at 1,000 chances, they're raining down a decent amount of hail on me yet. Definitely harder than the original. I mean, the shooting of them is easy. So that's, one thing I want to think about is why is it so easy to hit them in this when it's not in real Space Invaders? But boy, I wouldn't call that easy. Of course, there's if they get to the bottom, they have to give us a game over. And once we clear it or they're done, how do we play again, right? So little issues, little game management issues, if you think about it. To me, the exciting part is the algorithm, and guess what? We've done the algorithm. Barriers, right? It would have been nice to have some protection there. So that's the other thing that we could work on. You could also continue to fine tune the location. That time they were kind of maybe a little too tight together. So you could give it a little space, but were they too far apart from each other? And they started. It's weird where they started actually, but what if we started them a little bit in a different spot? Oh, you can maybe a little further down yet, so they're not on top of the scores. Right there, if I could pause it, is where I want them to start. Did they just move up the screen? Something there struck me as weird. So that must mean I want 75 on that one. Maybe I want 75. Maybe that's the magic number. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. They look like they're getting offset from each other a little bit as they go, which is kind of funny. All right. Not quite perfect, but we're getting there. I think we're going to call that a video. Enjoy your playing and your fine tuning. Should be great.